Yes, Dr. Gupta, correct points mentioned, and I guess the close differential should be a hyperkalemia and an acute coronary syndrome, acute ischemia. And as you rightly pointed out, that though I'm showing you ECGs, the history is very important. So in a patient with ACS, you obviously will have chest pain, chest discomfort, something like that. In a patient with hyperkalemia, there will be some reason why he is hyper. Is he a renal dysfunction? Is he on ACE or ARB and a potassium sparing diuretic and stuff like that? So there generally will be a clinical background to it which will help you. But yes, I wanted to talk about the tall T waves. The T waves are tall. They are really very, very tall. Now, so how do you differentiate between a tall T wave because of acute ischemia and a tall T wave of hyperkalemia? I think this is the crux on an ECG identification. Now, most often,
I think like what you're seeing in V5, especially it's a very pointed type of T wave, and pointed T waves are seen in hyperkalemia, and not so pointed T waves with a bit of doming is seen in acute coronary syndrome. So that's I think maybe that's the clue that one can think of hyperkalemia, because normally when we say that you just pinch the T wave and just lift it up, so that sort of T wave are seen in hyperkalemia.
Absolutely. So I think this is very important that it is tall and peaked. And more important also, with acute ischemia, you will find a J point elevation and an ST elevation also. So ST elevation with a tall T wave will make you think in terms of acute ischemia. But if you have a tall T wave like this, please V5, V6, tall T wave, V3, tall T wave. V4 might be a little confusing, but yet the ST segment is not elevated. If you see, the ST segment is nearly isoelectric or horizontal. So absence of ST elevation and a tall T wave is one thing. Second important thing is look at the height of the R wave. The R wave is pretty tall in these precordial leads. Most often when acute ischemia is there, when you start getting ST elevation and tall T wave, the R wave eventually, as a natural progression, starts getting decapitating. So these are some of the clues. And then often you see reciprocal changes. Inferior leads may show ST depression if there is an ST elevation in the anterior precordial lead. So none of these things are present, and therefore acute ischemia is very unlikely, and most likely this is hyperkalemia. And I should show you this ECG with correction of the potassium. So potassium actually was 7.2. After correction of potassium to 5, look, all bradycardia is gone, and there is absolutely the T waves, which were so very tall and peak, are also getting to more normal state, and the overall ECG looks more normal looking right now. So this was an ECG of hyperkalemia. So hyperkalemia can have many changes. The first change which we often see is the tall peak T wave. Second is bradycardia. Third is widening of the QRS. Widening of the QRS. Fourth is depolarization meets repolarization, meaning thereby the QRS becomes wide, it merges into the T wave, and the ST segment gets completely lost. Absence of P waves, no P wave, and eventually a sine wave kind of a rhythm that may happen. So depending on the severity of hyperkalemia, you will have various grades of hyperkalemic changes on the ECG. I think, Dr. Gupta, did we get any score result or we did not?
No, we are not. That's why I was trying to get in touch with the technical people. Why the results are not coming? Hello?
Give me 5 seconds, we are doing it.
Why the results are not coming?
By the time you all are trying in the back end, I will continue with the ECGs. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So I am continuing with my.
Dr. Aditya has come or not? He has not come?
No, sir, he has not come yet. We can continue, sir.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so let us know when he joins us, and let us know also when the polling is working.
Sure, sir.
So this is the fourth ECG in our list, and this ECG, again, look at the ECG. there is some kind of a sinus tachycardia. There are T wave changes in the inferior leads. There are T wave changes in the precordial leads. There is a well-defined P wave, so it's a sinus tachycardia, T wave change, some amount of axis shift. Over. So this is roughly the ECG which you see. So is this consistent with just a sinus tachycardia? The rate is 120 or so. And yes, that is one of your choice. Is this because of RV strain pattern, right ventricular hypertrophy and strain pattern? You have a little poor progression of R wave and T wave inversions and a rightward axis, so RV strain pattern. Is this showing you an S1Q3 pattern, which would mean that there is a S wave in lead 1 and a Q wave in lead 3? Or you think that it is showing all the three patterns? It is showing sinus tachycardia, it's showing RV strain, it is showing S1Q3 pattern, and that would be all of the above, fourth choice. So I hope the voting meters are working. Kajal, can you tell us, is the voting meter working?
So we are working on it, sir. So please carry on, sir. We are working on it.
Okay, so we will carry on with the ECG. So Dr. Gupta, what is your impression on the ECG?
I think, Dr. Amit, you have given you have shown everything on this ECG. Patient has got sinus tachycardia. Patient has got S1 Q3 pattern. And you have shown that there is a inverted T waves are there from V1 to V3, showing the RV strain pattern. So this ECG has got all of the above, all the three features are there. And if we go into the history, I think history is not again available, but such a pattern normally we see in a case of pulmonary embolism, where there is a S1Q3 pattern, sinus tachycardia, and a RV strain pattern. So this ECG could be a case of a pulmonary embolism, and I think that's my take on this ECG.
Absolutely, you have hit the bullseye. So this is again a pattern recognition. Recognize all these patterns. You have precordial T wave inversions, you have decapitation of the R wave, telling you hypertrophy and strain. There is sinus tachycardia. There is an S1Q3 pattern. So S1Q3 pattern also classic. So all of them are classic for pulmonary embolism. Now, having said that, I want you all to remember that only 50% of the patients with pulmonary embolism will present with all the classic ECG changes. The classic ECG changes may not be there in all the patients. So be careful about that. The commonest finding on the ECG in a patient with pulmonary embolism is actually sinus tachycardia. That is the commonest finding we see. And the next common thing would be, as depending on the massiveness of the pulmonary embolism, depending on the pulmonary hypertension that it develops, then you will start seeing RV hypertrophy, RV strain, right axis deviation, and eventually the S1Q3 pattern. So if I were to show you the echocardiography picture, I hope this movie runs, and this movie runs. See, this is a short axis, and this is the pulmonary artery and that's the aorta. So the pulmonary artery, there is an embolus going from the main pulmonary artery into the right pulmonary artery. So this was actually a very young 25-year-old lady who had post-delivery non-resolving pneumonia, and actually it turned out to be a pulmonary embolus. All right, so we will move on to our fifth ECG now, and the fifth ECG is only a rhythm strip. So we have 3 rhythm strips here, 1, 2, and 3. So obviously this is monitoring happening. The question again to you on this event strip is that this rhythm is showing you a monomorphic ventricular tachycardia. 2, it is a polymorphic ventricular tachycardia. 3, it looks like an artifact. That doesn't seem to be a classic QRSS, but it's an artifact, ECG artifact or a cable artifact. Or 4th, it is atrial fibrillation. So look at this ECG carefully, and then on the rhythm strip, tell us what you think is the correct answer. Try using your polling meter. We'll try to see whether it's working or not. And in the meantime, I'll start requesting Dr. Gupta to help us decipher each of the choices, what it's likely to be.
So meanwhile, I want to say something, sir. So we are
Yeah.
more than 5,000 people logged in with us right now. So because of that, there is some technical issue. So sir, requesting you to please carry on the discussion and not mention any question right now. We can discuss on ECG or on this case, sir. We'll be needing 3-4 minutes and we'll get back to live poll, sir. So will it be fine, sir?